Well, hello there, and thank you so much for joining me. Well, a true royal drama is unfolding before our eyes, and not only a royal drama, it's also a media drama. I just can't believe it. Hello to everyone in the chat. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will get to you in a little while. I've got a fair bit to unpack. So, if you're sort of just clicking on now, what I said was a true royal drama is unfolding before our very eyes, and not only that, a media drama, and it's truly fascinating. Now, what I'm hoping to do in this live is actually present all sides. I don't want to sort of push my point of view. Genuinely, I don't, as tempting as that is. I don't want to push my point of view. I want to present all sides, but I will be offering my opinion, which you can reject or accept however you like. But I think it's so interesting. The game is afoot. This is so much fun. There is so much mystery to try and solve in this whole situation. Now, my thumbnail was deliberately inclusive of everybody, no matter where you stand on this issue. The thumbnail is something that we're all in agreement of. And I think even when I talk to my sort of non-royal following friends, they sort of say to me that they feel sorry for Prince William. They witness the pile-on that has sort of befallen him and Catherine, and, you know, not so much the children, thank goodness, but you know, they've witnessed it and they feel like it's very unfair. And I think a lot of people can relate due to their own family troubles and dynamics. You know, you can often get sort of the wayward child that comes back into the fold, and the good and loyal children that have stuck by the parents are often the ones that are shafted in the end, and all those sort of dramas that you see played out across, you know, many sort of movies and books over time. And that seems to be the situation unfolding a little bit. People perceive that William is in an untenable position through no fault of his own, and that's something that I think we can all agree on, no matter how that actually has come about. Now, the big news of the day is Richard Eden, like I said, going rogue and basically blaming an establishment stitch-up for what is befalling William. Now, understandably, there's a lot of skepticism because people have pointed out that the Daily Mail flip-flop on their position quite often. The Palace Confidential show, we know, flip-flops very often. But the one thing that I will say in Richard Eden's defence is that he has never wavered on the fact that Prince Harry should apologise to William. He has held fast to that. He has never wavered on that. And he has always said that if there's going to be any reconciliation being forced on William, that, you know, Harry should very definitely come out publicly and apologise for all the attacks on his brother. So he hasn't actually wavered off that position. I've been following him and following the Palace Confidential show for a very long time. So I'm perfectly confident to say that. Now, he has wavered and flip-flopped on other things. So has the Daily Mail. So have all of them. In particular, I don't think they were very kind about Catherine around the time of the Mother's Day photo. All of us held fast in our position because, again, we could see it was bullying. Pure and simple bullying. So we all stuck up for Catherine, and especially when she was going through such a dreadfully hard time at that time. I will declare my bias. I am very much behind William, Catherine, the whole Wales family. I'm a great admirer of Sophie and Edward. I'm a great admirer of Princess Anne. I'm a great admirer of a lot about the royal family, but in particular, I am biased towards the Wales family. I just think they nail it every time. Okay, so let's get up a slide. I'll show you the headline from Richard Eden. I can't believe it. I really can't believe it. I think he might be getting some heat from the Royal Rota as we speak. So the headline was, there's a sinister establishment plot to undermine Prince William and Kate and bring back Harry and Meghan. I refuse to be a part of it. And today I'm exposing what's going on. Now, I believe him. I honestly believe him. Now, a lot of people are going to sort of scoff at me now and say, oh, Shawnee, you're so naive. You're so easily sucked in. But I'll tell you why. Whenever I say I tell you why, I always think of Uncle Bryn and Gavin and Stacey, and I'll tell you for why. Well, I'll tell you why. Around the time of Prince Harry's pseudo-royal tour, I was watching the Palace Confidential show. Now, I think it was just after all that unfolded. Now, Richard Eden was sitting there and I picked up genuine anger. Now, he wasn't in sync with the rest of the panel. He was clearly quite upset and quite brittle about the whole thing. And the rest of the sort of panel were trying to sort of smooth things over and make all those sort of reconciliation noises and saying nice things about Harry. And it was like, ugh, it was so sickening. But Richard Eden was sitting there and wasn't really joining in and wasn't taking part of it. He then went out of his way to say, well, no, I don't think that this pseudo-royal, tour should have ever gone ahead, in his rather mild way, but he did say it. And he was quite damning of the fact that it went ahead. He wasn't a happy penguin, let's put it that way. So let's have a look what he actually said. Let's get it up. And like I said, you can decide for yourself, but I actually do believe him in this. Over recent months, they have also faced a relentless public relations campaign waged by the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Now, there is no doubt that the campaign originated and was waged by the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. I'm not silly enough to dispute that. Of course it did. But it's the next bit that I pointed to a couple of weeks ago, okay, and I'll explain why. So it was aimed at restoring the California-based couple to the affections of the British public. Well, that was glaringly, obviously. Now, this line, worryingly, King Charles has been drawn into this. Now, he's not attributing blame. He's not having a go at the king. He's saying that he's been drawn into this, aided by some key figures of the establishment behind the scenes. Okay, now that is really, really important because remember when I said that I felt like there was a whiff of the palace about the rehabilitation of Prince Harry's image with this pseudo-royal tour, and I'll show you a little bit of evidence I've gathered for you in a sec. Also, I said the palace, I didn't say there was a whiff about the king. I said there was a whiff about the palace, about this Harry rehabilitation, and also the coordinated campaign against Prince William, which was a tax. And I said it felt like someone or, something with an agenda was trying to make Prince William draw the line and sort of, kowtow to what they want and just, go along with things a bit more. That was what I felt. And that, of course, all went pear-shaped with the Kent funeral, because that for William, I think written all over his face, was the final straw. He was genuinely disgusted and he hated being in that position. But again, I don't think his thoughts were really about himself so much. I think he could handle it. He was fine. He's perfectly strong. He can handle anything. The thing that bothered him, though, was he felt sheer frustration. Now, again, I'm just projecting my feelings onto him. I could be very inaccurate, but I thought I picked up frustration. And when I spoke to Tom Sykes the other day, who, look, whether you like him or not, he really does have inside sources. He really does have the inside track. And as such, I'm told things that maybe I wasn't privy to 6 months ago. And William was frustrated because Tom Sykes pointed out to you all that William is very aware, because he's modern and he's sort of a child of the digital age, that this won't fly. The optics of this just will not fly, of having Prince Andrew and Fergie being photographed with senior royals, whether it's a private family occasion or a public family occasion. It's wrong. It does not fly. It is really toxic for the royal family brand. And that was the point that we were discussing in our last video. So, with all that background, let's go on to the next little bit and see what he has to say. The king is, however, in danger of forcing the heir to the throne into a very uncomfortable corner. He already is. William is already in an uncomfortable corner. It happened with the really, oh, I won't get ahead of myself. I'll show you the proof in a sec, okay? I'm just a bit excited. I'm just a bit excited to unpack this, okay? If he allows this plot to succeed, Harry and Meghan will be back in Britain. They will be back in Britain, undermining Prince William and Catherine without ever having apologised for their appalling behaviour. Now, many missed this, but there was a release from the Sussex team yesterday, and I haven't got it to show you, but I know I read it, so you're just going to have to trust me. And there was this funny little bit about the fact that Harry was going to come back to the UK for more events. Now, of course, we realise that this is all supposed to be leading up into Invictus Birmingham, and he obviously wants the king to attend that, right? And I think there's a considerable amount of planning already underway for that. Again, I might be wrong and you don't have to believe me, but I'm just sharing what I think. Now, that is really interesting because there was this strange little bit and it said that Harry, of course, will make an appearance for Remembrance Sunday, but he will not be joining the official royal family. And I thought, hang on, because they implied that it was going to be in the UK. Now, we all know that he has tried to signify it over in the USA previously. And of course, we all witnessed that, really unedifying display for VJ Day, which reduced me to frustrated tears, as you know, because it was just so embarrassing and humiliating. And I think really sort of undermined veterans on that really, really important day. And so I'm thinking, oh, no, you're not, are you? You're not going to do something in the UK for Remembrance Sunday. But that's what the article implied. Now, again, it could just be provocation from the Sussex team. I understand that, and I understand that everything should be taken with a grain of salt. Now I'm going to show you a little bit more. That's pretty much the end of my opinion. Now I'm going to unpack it and present both sides, okay? So you can decide for yourself. So I'm going to go on to the very beginning, which was the meeting, as you know, with Tobin Andre, Meredith Maines and Luke Maguire at the Royal Overseas Club. All right, now I've made notes because I want to make sure that I genuinely do present both sides. So I called this the build-up. And this was the build-up to the crescendo, which was what we're witnessing now. So I said there were two contrasting views. This is what I've written. One, this meeting was leaked purely by the Sussex team. People analysed these photographs and they said that they saw genuine surprise on the face of Tobin Andre. Now, the other side is people thought that it was quite a well-rehearsed, convincing look of surprise on the face of Tobin Andre. However, others thought that he was genuinely caught unawares. Okay, so there's that side. The other side is that if the palace didn't want it to be seen, if they didn't want this meeting to exist in the public consciousness, then it would never have been conducted at the Royal Overseas Club. It would have been conducted in a dark room in the very depths of the palace, and you would have been none the wiser. Okay, so also another side, Daily Mail broke it. And we all know that Tobin Andre is very deeply connected. He was very much a high executive there before he joined, King Charles's employ. I actually got told off the other day because I kept saying King Charles III, and they said, "Oh, why do you say King Charles III? Are you scared, you got to mix him up with an earlier King Charles?" And yes, that's what happened. I did this ghost story video once, and I actually called King Charles II. So that's why I always make sure that I correct myself, but I'm just going to call him King Charles from now on because it does seem a bit pedantic. I agree on that one. So Tobin Andre, deep connections there. There's assertion that it was meant to be leaked, okay, because it was going to herald what was to come. Now, one viewpoint is that what was to come was a softening of the palace's attitude towards Harry and a lead up to the possible arrangements for a royal appearance at the Invictus Games Birmingham, because they were doing it a few years out so that things could be soothed over, so there wasn't this will he, won't he appear, because the palace will want to announce if the king is going to attend, they're going to want to announce it about a year out from the games. And so they wanted to get rid of any negativity, I would imagine, which is a good thing for veterans, but not necessarily a good thing for any of us or William. Right. So an apparent softening of the palace's attitude. Then I go into the VJ Day, which I've already done, so I won't do that again. Then next, let's look at the next slide. We have Prince Harry's pseudo-royal tour. Now, I went back because I wanted to sort of illustrate to you why I thought it had a whiff of the palace about it. This is Harry back in 2014. Now, I know, very flimsy, okay, Shauna, he's having a sword fight. I mean, come on, how is that any evidence? And it's not. It's just a feeling. When I saw the 4-day tour from Harry sort of unfold, I felt like I was in a time warp and I was back in 2014 when Happy Chappy Harry was very much supported by the palace to rehabilitate his image. Because prior to 2014, his image was pretty bad. He was known as the party prince. He was known to enjoy, substances to quite a great extent. He had a lot of sort of girlfriends and playing strip pool in Las Vegas. And, his image needed cleaning up. So this is 2014. He's on a royal visit and he's sword fighting, and it's sort of captured, right? Interestingly, by the Telegraph. Now, I have a little bit of insight into the Telegraph that I didn't have 6 months ago, and that has also fueled my opinions. Then we have the balloon sword fight. Now, this time it was captured by independent media recruited by the Sussexes, but within a blink of an eye, picked up by all the Royal Rota and quickly shared by the Daily Tea, which is the Telegraph podcast. The film was quickly shared all across their social media. Happy Chappy Harry. Oh, look at him. Isn't it great to have him back? Look, he hasn't changed at all. What a legend. Let's use children and a charity to rehabilitate our image, just like Auntie Sarah. Okay, so enough of the sarcasm. Let's go to the next slide. Then we have Prince Harry meeting King Charles for the first time. You know I was disillusioned about this. It is interesting, though. We're going to present both sides. So, now what did I say about this? Now, one side is that for this meeting, Harry was deliberately humiliated by the palace. Evidence being that the meeting was very short. He was humiliated by being forced to go through a back entrance, and it was strictly the Sussex team that tipped off the media. Okay? And look, I'm presenting that because that is not a silly argument. I'm presenting it. Okay? As opposed to the Royal Rota being in place at the correct entrance to Clarence House. And the fact that William wasn't informed of the meeting. Now, this has been officially confirmed. He was not told of this meeting until the last moment, until it was about to take place. I find that very interesting. Now, the meeting, granted, was very short, but it ensured the sort of positive press that Harry has not enjoyed since the Oprah Winfrey interview. And I showed this in another live and I went and grabbed it just to prove my point. You cannot buy press like that. There was a deluge of it. It was just unprecedented. The amount of positivity just heaped on Harry. This is before he did the Guardian interview and self-sabotage and stuffed it all up. But unprecedented positive press from everywhere. You could not open up your iPad or your phone without seeing something positive about Prince Harry. Meanwhile, and I'm not going to give you all the things they said about William and Catherine because I'm not going to highlight them, but this is a representative example from the Daily Mail and not Richard Eden, to be fair. William and Catherine, have become the prince and princess are boring. They need to stop skulking around. Now, we all know that. Okay, so there was that times 50 going on about the Waleses, and then we had the positivity just all over Harry, just flooding Harry. Okay, next we had him self-sabotaging in The Guardian, which I don't think anybody expected. I think somebody might have given Harry a pep talk on the way to Ukraine and given him some really bad advice, and he went off script. Now, the other aspect to this is I am not convinced that anyone gets to go to Ukraine without considerable planning and without a lot of permission. Now, I know he went against the UK government as far as people are saying meeting Vladimir Zelensky. Possibly that is, very, very true. But the actual going to, no, that doesn't happen. If the government doesn't want any UK citizen to go in on a prominent press junket in Ukraine, they can stop it. They can make sure it doesn't happen. So permissions were granted. Harry himself said permission was granted. And that sort of permission about the king's son is not going to happen, in my opinion, unless the king is okay with it, because the government is not going to get the king that offside just before the most important state visit that the UK government is really relying on. They're not going to get the king offside. I think, the palace was up with it. That's just my opinion. I think they were fully aware. Okay, let's go back. I don't think there's anything necessarily nefarious about that. I think that just makes practical good sense. All right, next thing. Now we have this, and this is what is confusing, and this is the spanner in the works, because this, I believe, is melodramacito based, not official Sussex PR team based, not the whiff of the palace helping out the rehabilitation of Harry based, what was arranged. This is all melodramacito as ever, with love, Meghan, because all of this guff is being pushed out in all the outlets that do her stuff. Marie Claire, In Style, all those, Closer, all of those sort of outlets that are her go-tos, they're the ones pressing the emotive aspect of it. Now, this is where it gets even more interesting. I hope I'm not boring you, because I find this just endlessly fascinating. But after that came out, the palace made an announcement about how Harry couldn't be half in, half out. Yeah. We all know that. He doesn't even want to be back in the royal family. He just wants the money that comes from the association with the royal family. And to get that, he needs to meet up with the king, a couple of times a year. All right, that's all he's after. But they put out this interesting thing saying sweet, syrupy pieces in the media are not helping things. And I think that was a direct slap on the nose to Meghan Markle. I think it was, look, you're mucking everything up. We've got everything sorted, and you are putting the public offside by sticking your nose in with these fake, sweet, syrupy, stupid stories. So back off, baby. That's what I think it was. Okay. Again, just opinion. All right. I'm going to show you something else now. Here we go. This is William arriving in Balmoral. Now, there is nothing really astounding about this. When the king actually ascended to the throne, this is when this started. They wanted to make sure that William and his father had a mini break without, children, wives, anything, a one-on-one, heir and the king at Balmoral. It's been happening since 2022. And it's so they can sort things out, get on the same page. And I, for one, hope they do. I really do hope they get on the same page, and that it's really, it reaps benefits for both of them. Because I think that's what's necessary, that's what's needed. Because if this is a bit of an establishment stitch-up as far as establishment figures, as Richard Eden claims, are trying to influence the king, pull on his heartstrings, try to convince him that this is a good path, well, I think this meeting between William and his father right now is going to put paid to that. And I think that can only be a really, really good thing. And I think we're all in agreement that we just want it to work out. And we want William to stop being put in this untenable position and also being embarrassed and being put in a, just awful position. I can only imagine, honestly, how he felt. It would have just been beyond belief. Okay, now we've got People magazine, right? And now this is probably a little bit far-fetched because generally when you think of things and think of theories and think of things that could happen, as Phil Craig said, you've got to go for the more simple explanation. So this is a little bit convoluted and you can dismiss it. But I did wonder, there is another ex-royal other than Meghan Markle and really Harry that is just as close to People magazine, also Hello magazine. And it's Sarah, Duchess of York, and the daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie. They're very, very close to People magazine. They have a really great working relationship with People magazine. Pretty much when they've got anything to push, any agenda to push, they appear in People. Plus, of course, we know Hello magazine if they can meet the price. So I'm wondering whether this leak, did it come from the king? A lot of people are saying it came from the king. A lot of people are saying it came from William. I doubt it. It's not his style. He's not involving himself in leaks, and particularly not through Royal Rota or through any big magazines. If he wants anything to get out there, he does it through his own people. So I just don't believe that of the Wales's camp. It's not how they've been operating. I've been observing it, and it's not how they operate. So they can only leave two choices, okay? Leaking the Balmoral thing. The king, and it could be agreed by William, yes, let everyone see that we're getting together and that we're on the same page. Maybe it was advice from Tobin Andre. Or was it not meant to be leaked? And it was a York-based bit of information that they might have inadvertently dropped to get themselves off the front page. You see, it gets curiouser and curiouser, doesn't it? So let me know what you think. I'm nearly at the end of my big investigation, my big Sherlock Holmes investigation. Should have a beaver hat on. Now, I'm going to go to your comments right now. This is a good point. Yes, Giselle, please don't support any media, including TV programs that are pushing Harry and Meghan's return. Well, I'm not, because Richard Eden isn't. To be fair to that guy, he came out so strongly, and he was the only one on Palace Confidential that adamantly disagreed with their return. He said that it would undermine Prince William. He said that it should not be allowed, that they were essentially setting up a rival court if they came back, and that Harry would go out of his way to undermine William every time he appeared in public. So I totally agree with what you're saying, but in believing Richard Eden, I'm not betraying that principle, because he has always been consistent when it comes for his support for Prince William. Okay, so it's great to know that Rebecca is back again. Yes, Ginger Root. Now, I've bagged out Rebecca English often because I think that she does sort of spin the palace line a little too much at the expense of truth sometimes. So I'm pretty wary. I'm pretty wary. Plus, I don't like the system. I don't like how the whole Royal Rota has everything sewn up. I've got a little more to say about that. I'm just getting it together. But yes, I think it is good that she's supporting Richard Eden. Her motivation to do so is I don't know whether it's just, it serves her. That sounds awful and cynical, but I wonder if it just serves her. Whereas I think Richard Eden is genuine. Now, I know he has said stuff that really irritates and puts people off him, and I am there. I understand that. This is a standalone thing for me. This is a standalone thing. And I think that's why we can't get too much into tribes, because it makes us miss things. Because, if I just universally, well, Richard Eden, no, not going to give him the time of day, not going to even look at that, no. Well, I'm going to miss something that actually fits in with something I was observing a few weeks before Richard Eden even said it. And so, do you see what I mean? You've got to be open enough to look at things that sometimes people are telling you the truth. And often, even the best conspiracy theories in the world have an element of truth in them, because that's how they get people on board with them. They give you a little bit of truth and then they pad a story around it. People could argue that's what I'm doing now, but I'm not trying to do that, because, like I said, you can completely reject all of this. You can say, you loopy la Shauna. Just, get back to reality. Okay, quite a few of you are saying that you like Richard Eden and you like Rebecca English. This is the prevailing mood, I think, from everyone, Burnett Hogan, that this needs to be cleaned up quick smart. And that's what I'm saying. I really hope that some positive action comes out of the Balmoral mini summit between son and father. The other thing is, look, quite frankly, the amount of frustration with the palace's, reaction to all of this goes back months. I mean, well, years. We've been saying, take Harry and Meghan off the Royal Family website. And regardless of which side of this debate you're on, we all agree on that. People have been saying, remove the link to the Sussex website on the Royal Family website. I've been saying that for nearly 3 years now. Heaps of YouTubers have been saying it. Heaps of you have been saying it in the comments. And it's your main bugbear. It's like, this is ridiculous. It's embarrassing. It's humiliating. Take action. And then, of course, that came to a head because we saw the Royal Family website being updated due to the Duchess of Kent's funeral. So we could see that it can be updated in a blink of an eye. So it doesn't have to wait for, the king to die and William to ascend to the throne for the website to be updated. That's what people were spinning. They were actually spinning that and expecting us to believe it. There is a lot of codswallop out there. And you listen to it and you think, yeah, but in the real world, that's not how things work. Not in the real world. You're trying to spin me something that I'm finding very hard to believe, because I live in the real world and it just doesn't ring true. All right, I'm going to share a few more comments. Here we go. No, it wasn't Ginger Root, sorry. It was Pun Police up here. Sorry, it flies by so quickly. You can't get away from press calls or rotas. Downing Street, the White House, Pentagon, it's difficult to get rid of. And they have their role, Pun Police, don't they? Because if you're covering a official event, like a state visit, or, an official, or Catherine and William's beautiful, so moving visit to commemorate the Southport tragedy, those little girls. I mean, that was so moving. And you would want that just covered impartially, factually. And, that's good. I think the Royal Rota definitely has its place when it comes to those sort of events. What I have issue with is the Royal Rota increasingly is inserting opinion into their coverage of events. And I think that's wrong. If you're going to have a pool that is agreed to share stories, then keep it factual. Do you know what I mean? Prince William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, went to Southport today, and this is what unfolded, and this is who they met, and that's what that story was presented as. And then it went through the pool, and everyone presented it the same way. But they're presenting opinion, and then it's getting through the whole pool. Do you see the distinction there? That's where it becomes an agenda. Propaganda. That's where I don't like it. I don't trust it. It's not the function that it should hold. Maybe I'm a little too idealistic. I could be. I have been known to be Too idealistic. Honestly, when am I going to grow up, hey? When am I going to grow up? Okay, let's see what Jody has to say. Is it possible that Charles had to wait so long to be king that his attitude is, I'm going to do what I want, regardless of how it affects William? Yeah, I think there could be an element of that, but I think really it's more about being the commander in chief and saying, this is how it's going to unfold. I don't have to consult you. And where it all gets messy, really, really messy, is it's this family thing, this toxic, toxic family environment created by Harry and created by Meghan. And it's this toxic environment, family environment, that is stuffing everything up. And that's what Tom Bower means when he says that Harry and Meghan have done more to damage the monarchy than anyone else ever. You know, that the damage is considerable. And I know that Lady C, even though we may agree on some of this sort of, how this is unfolding, also believes that they have created enormous damage and distrust in the monarchy because of their shenanigans. I'm actually having Lady C on this Wednesday because she does not believe that there is a whiff of the palace about any of this, and that's why I'm having her on, because I want to present her viewpoint. I'm interested in how she's seen this campaign unfold against William. I'm interested in her opinion about that. Now, she knows that I hold a different view, and that's okay. I'll say my view, she'll say her view. It's just a discussion, a really interesting discussion. And then we're going to delve into her Queen Mother book a little bit, just for some fun, juicy royal affairs. We're going to delve into that just for a bit of entertainment. So that should be a really good conversation, because we shouldn't be afraid to talk to people that have differing opinions to us. That's how we get to the bottom of things, because little nuggets come out that you might have missed. That's what intrigues me, that stimulates me intellectually, is to talk to people that don't agree with me. I think that's wonderful. Okay, now let's just have one more comment. This is from Flower Lady. Palace Confidential has gotten so many negative comments after they all picked on Catherine and William. There were very few positive comments for weeks, and that's why a lot of people unsubscribed, Flower Lady. I couldn't stomach them. I really couldn't, particularly around the time when that story broke about William and Catherine moving to Forest Lodge. I was appalled. And I did notice that Rebecca English came out. I think she was away, and she did come back and say she didn't agree with any of the coverage that had taken place while she was away. She did say that, to her credit. But gee, it was rough, and it was so out of line. It was just awful. We don't need to pull ourselves down going back over that. But yes, a lot of people unsubscribed, a lot of people clicked out. And, I just, like I said, the Richard Eden thing is a standalone thing for me. It's not connected to anything else. All right. So I'll leave it there. I have blabbed on. I'll be really interested. I'm going to read all your opinions that are down in the chat, because I get great insights from you all. And also, please leave your comments below the video for the people that are on replay, so they can see as well what you're thinking about all this. Like I said, I've got Lady C on Wednesday. I've also got Valentine Lowe this week. He's going to come on and talk to me about the power and the palace. And I'm going to ask him some really searching questions about William, which I think you will find really, really fascinating. And Andrew Loney is coming on for another live. It's going to be an action-packed week. So I hope you will join me. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody, and I'll see you next week. I can't wait. I can't wait for it to come. See you then. Bye-bye. Love you all. Bye. Bye.